to love and light before the shit show. Satnam. Okay. It's one of my favorite things to do, to have a little chaos. So we're just, we're missing a couple people, but they're headed. We'll see how that goes. And we're excited about today. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and those who have come out of, threats and ultimatums. Thank you for being here. No, everyone's here, I know, on their own accord. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about kind of the Aquarian model of relating and what that looks like. And I touched on it with the women yesterday, but we want to kind of start to create the culture of it. And that is what you want. You have to give. And then, we were talking about it this morning. I thought it was a good point that you made, John. It's not that you, and this is what we're going to actually be practicing today, it's not that you give exactly what you want, because we live on a polarity planet. So it's actually part of the art and the beauty of working in polarity between two human beings, which is what the whole kind of attraction and relating dance is about. A part of that is that you learn to give the thing that creates the positive polarity to that. And so that's some of the practice that we're going to be doing. And I talked about it yesterday, and so did John. We didn't plan it, but I thought this was good limbic resonance, which is that we're strengthening your internervous system. Because I was saying to the women, we didn't even really, we did some relating between women yesterday, but we just kind of talked about relationship yesterday, and everybody was like, I'm exhausted. By the end of the, I couldn't even teach meditation. I was like, look, we're not going to meditate. See you tomorrow. That was just exhausting talking about relationship. So today we have to do it, and it takes stamina, and it takes a strength in your nervous system, which is part of what we're going to be strengthening you in different ways. So we'll do a little of this Kundalini yoga to strengthen the nervous system and just stretch you out, because the whole concept of a Aquarian relationship, or the new way of relationship on the planet in this time, it's changing so rapidly, and we don't have a lot of role models. It's like, I don't think, there's probably very few people in here who could say that your parents or some other kind of role model in your life has a relationship that has, even qualities that you would like to emulate. So this is part of becoming leaders, and if you don't know, the women in here have been studying with me, most of you, for these past 6 months, and part of the kind of women's work we've been doing is, how do we become the role models that we need on the planet right now? And so the same thing with relationship, and it's why we called this little weekend relationship the final frontier. Which Huddy Jeevan, every time he sees it, goes, "It's so funny." He loves it because it's true. It's one of these last places that we can get, we can have our own yoga, we can be enlightened, like totally in samadhi. And the moment that you bring any kind of stimulus of another human being involved, that's where the real yoga happens. So we're going to be strengthening your nervous system in all sorts of different ways. I'm from the lineage of Yogi Bhajan, my teacher, and my teacher Huddy Jeevan. I'll be presenting to you the teachings of Yogi Bhajan and using Kundalini Yoga to help to strengthen you and allow for space to get into your body. Because that's one thing, we were talking about this yesterday too, in order to become these new leaders, we have to be embodied. And in the Kundalini Yoga model, we have 10 bodies. So there's a big kind of width and depth and altitude of us to embody, and it takes practice. It really takes practice. So we got to get in our bodies, and men and women have different challenges there. Women, it's more about the hatred of ourselves. Men, it's more about, the way that your brains work and your kind of, kill the woolly mammoth metaphor we used yesterday. But so there's different challenges to embodiment for men and women. But so we'll help to do what we can to get you in your bodies so that then you can start to feel each other in a new way. And if you're with someone that you're not going to, go to Vegas and marry tonight, which, if you do, I'm more cool. I'm a gambler. And so, if you're with someone, it's a wonderful opportunity to do some practice and start to kind of experiment. I think it's in many ways more low risk.
Yeah, no, you want to start practicing, the ideas that we create in relationship, like in anything that we do for long periods of time. And most of us have been in relationship for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. And there's a certain groove in our nervous system, in our body mind, that gets well worn. Like, she looks at me like that, and I do this pretty much every time, right? Everybody kind of get the sense of something, or he says this, and my body does this, right? And so we have this groove that gets developed, and sometimes it's better for us to practice a little bit, right, with other people, so that we can get feedback from somebody that doesn't have any history with us, or God forbid, need to prove a point or be right about something that they said a week ago, right? And so it's good for us to practice a little bit with other people just to get. And so we're gonna set you up with other partners that aren't your partner, but primarily you're going to be practicing with the partner you brought or partner that we give you. And the thing we really want to, invite you to do is to look at today as a way of practicing making yourself more available to give and receive love. That's really all we're doing. We're working with the body to show you ways that you can give love more fully through the body and receive love more fully through the body in a more relaxed way, in a more artful way, in a more generous way, right? And so that involves the mind, it involves breath, it involves some mudra, which will be different than some of the mudra that you guys know, and it involves an opening of the body. So all of those things are going to happen, and we like to. Can I do agreements? I feel like a good time to do agreements. So it's good when we get into this space because we're opening up a tantric space today, right? Different from white tantric, which deals with angles. It's a different kind of tantric space, but we're opening up a tantric space, and so having a really tight container and a very nicely sealed container means that we can all go deep. And so agreements are one of the ways that we create a container. So I'm going to have the door closed a lot of the day to seal a container. I'm going to have you guys remove bags and things,
I told you, women.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to have, you should see my home. I'm going to have all the cell phones off and out of the room for a big part of the day. We're going to try to create a container where relating is the most possible thing, right? And so to do that, I'm going to run through some agreements. Cool? So the first agreement is that you agree to honor yourself, right? This is not about like pushing you into some practice or some kriya or some pose that is going to cause you to blow a hamstring, right? This is really about pushing a little bit farther than you normally push, maybe a lot if it feels good. Maybe there's a whole incredibly wide opening that happens. But this is really just about pushing you a little farther and putting you into some positions that might take you out of your comfort zone. To do that, I want you to realize that you're going to honor yourself. So if something doesn't feel right in anything we do, you have a hand sign. And the hand sign is this. Actually, let's do the right.
It's a safe word.
It's a safe word, yeah? Pickle, right? So it's a safe word. Basically, it just
any word but Satnam.
Everybody just raise their right hand. Just so okay. So this means, hey, this is a little intense for me right now. Let me just kind of back. Can we just back up? It doesn't mean you disconnect. It doesn't mean you run out of the room with your hair on fire. It doesn't mean that it just means that you take a step back and you just kind of stay in this loving presence with each other. Cool, does everybody get that? Does everybody agree to honor self? If you do, go ahead and raise your hand. Let me know. Just let me see it. Let me see it. Great.
But that's the same as our.
I get it. I get it. It's a double. It's got two meanings. All right. The second agreement is honor other, right? So let's just step into this with the concept that the person showing up in front of you, if they're not your loved one, if they're somebody that you've never seen before, never met, let's just assume they're here because they want to learn to better themselves in some way. They want to show up a little deeper in their relationships, or let's just give them positive regard that they're showing up with the best intentions, right? So if that's the case, then we're going to honor other. And if it feels like somebody is kind of fritzing out or it's a little too much, just sort of keep that in mind, and also keep that in mind as you're interacting, because there might be some touch and there might be some exchange of energy. We certainly hope so, because we're going to actually put you through some pretty energetic practices. So make sure that you're honoring other. So does everybody agree to honor other? Raise your hand. Everybody raise your hand. Good. I know I'm a thank you. A stickler. Okay, so with honor self and honor other out of the way, we have a third agreement, which is let's play full out. Let's play full out, right? You're here. I know a lot of men were gently coaxed into being here, maybe
or we ran them down Lincoln Boulevard.
Maybe they were, maybe they came of their own accord. Some of the guys work with me. Some of the guys have worked with me for a long time, so some of the guys know the work I do. But let's just play full out, right? Which means that when we put you in these positions where you're like, it means don't worry about how you look. It means all the growth that we want. There's a great saying about this, that everything you want exists just outside your comfort zone. Nowhere is that more true than in relationship. Nowhere is that more true than in relationship. So playing full out means that in those moments where you're like, do I want to show this? Try it. See how it feels. And knowing that you can always back off if you need to, and that you're safe in doing that. So everybody agree to play full out? Cool. All right, good. Yes? Okay, cool. I'm making sure, right? I've actually had somebody say, I didn't raise my hand at that part, and so I don't agree. I've learned my lesson. So with that, there are a couple other sort of just container rules. One is, if you're in the middle of a practice, sometimes stuff will come up. You're going to be intimate, looking into somebody's eyes, breathing with somebody, right? There might be a desire to just go check your cell phone. Or there might be something that wants to take, you might have a need to go to the bathroom really badly at that moment. Please don't leave your partner. If you need to leave your partner, just raise your hand, and Shabpreet and I maybe believe Ariel will come and fill in, or we'll work something out where Julian will have a couple men and a couple women that can fill in, kind of like in White Tantric, for those of you that have done White Tantric.
And so, I would just say that, for the women, the whole I have to pee all of a sudden thing is super subconscious. I'm just letting you know, you're fine, you're an adult, everybody's cool, you're going to be okay for 15 minutes. That's why I always yell at you, just stay in the room, because it's a real simple, so we're just, we're really loosey-goosey when it's just Kundalini and when the door's open, everybody gets here 45 minutes late and stuff. But when we get into these practices that John is teaching, it requires a much more respectful and tight container, because people's emotions and hearts and things are on the line. So yeah, just stick with that for us.
Thank you. So that also means we're honoring a container where people are having an intimate moment or trying to stretch their nervous system in a certain way. So if you leave that circle, everybody in the circle feels it. There's one person without a partner, everybody feels it. Also, if you're talking in between the exercises, everybody feels it. I'm going to have you give feedback to each other. That's part of the beauty of this whole thing. And you're going to get really valuable feedback from members, from other men and women. So it's important that you don't talk in between. If I get you, I'll probably shame you just a tiny bit, and just make sure that we don't do that, so that everything can stay really tight.
Because we get the chatting thing. I was yelling at the women about this yesterday too. The chatting thing is just blowing off energy, which we want to contain the energy so you can relate and channelize it in a way that you're not used to doing, because chatting just neutralizes the situation like that. So if there's some polarity coming up, that will just, flatten it out. And so if we're trying to work with a little bit of that, we just want to keep out of the habitual tendencies, and one of them is chatting.
Yeah. Checking out, too. Like, you'll notice that you're going to want to move energy because you feel a lot of energy. So chatting's one way to do it. Fidgeting is another way to do it. So just all things to be aware of. There's no, everybody's going to do their best here today. If we do our jobs well, you'll have some really beautiful experiences. You may fall in love a couple times. And there's just a lot of stuff that will kind of move. It should feel really good. So the last piece is around touching. So if some of the exercises give optional touching, like you can actually, go belly to belly with a partner, or put your arm around somebody's waist, or look into somebody's eyes if it feels good. So in that case, there's no touching of anything that is any breasts, ass, or genitals. Let's just go ahead and say it, right? So there's no touching of anything.
He's afraid to say that with the Kundalini
crowd. With the camera right on me.
The Kundalini crowd.
Yeah. I can say fuck all day long, but I can't say breast, ass, and genitals. So
last night he was like, "Did we say fuck too many times?" I was like, "No."
Yeah, this is, I guess, a new Kundalini. So am I missing anything?
No, I think that's. I think that's about it.
Yeah. So, the last one, little piece here. Don't hit on people and on each other during the breaks. First of all, you don't know who's here.
Unless it's hit on your girlfriend or wife.
Yeah,
but
yeah. So unless it's your partner, but we don't know who's with whom, and some of these people are new. So just be sure that you might have a moment with somebody, but don't chase them down at the break and tell them how you want to. That's never happened to you, and you want to go to Acapulco with them or something like that. So just make sure, again, this is one of those things I need an agreement
Kokomo.
on, right? Yeah, so everybody cool with those final pieces of the container, where you touch, no hitting on people.
People could have also, if you're working with someone who is not your partner, they could have a partner at home, just so you know. Yeah. We don't know anyone's relationship status, and so just, be respectful, and there's a... chalkboard in the bathroom, so if you really need to put your phone number somewhere, have at it. But okay, good.
Sure. Yeah. So I think that covers it.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So
one other piece I want to just stretch out, this idea of giving, right? So when you're working with people and you might be in front of somebody. You might be in front of somebody, you're like, well, she's not my type, or he's not my type, or this is not the person that I would, date or marry or whatever. But you're training each other. It's like you're training each other for the capacity to give greater love in your next relationship or when you get home, right? Or for their partner who happens to be here. So a culture and a spirit of just incredible generosity is something that I would ask of you. And also, you're training yourself. So when you give somebody feedback, when we say, hey, give them feedback, give them honest feedback. Really train them. Okay, I'm going to give that a 6, right? Because we want to be able to use the information that we get from each other today to go out into the world. This is like a big laboratory here, right? And we get to go out in the world and know how to express ourselves more fully. So this is about, again, making yourself more available for love, which is as much a yogic practice as an emotional practice or an intentional practice. And it's about opening up the channels that will make that possible. That requires some generosity. It requires some absolutely, courageous spirit, and then a spirit of playing.
Yeah. And I said this yesterday, but I'll reiterate it. If you are not getting what you want in either your current relationship or in relationship, having a relationship, or the type of person you'd like to, be attracted to you, or in any relationship, business. This all correlates across the board of relating with another human being. Then there is something off in your psychomagnetic field that you are not vibrationally magnetizing that thing from your current partner, or from your Tinder swipe, or from your, whatever you your thing is, I've been teasing Julian because we were walking down Rose Avenue and we were like having an old person moment. And he was like, "Have you heard that the venereal diseases are up because of apps like Tinder?" I felt like that was like flash to like us, like as old people. But so whatever, if you're not getting because one thing about the online virtual situation that's happening is that it's much more vibrationally, one, it's fast, and two, it's vibrationally oriented. We're in the technological age. So, and interesting. So if you're in that place where you're dating in that way, that it's all vibrational. And the same thing if you're in a relationship of 20 years and you're not getting what you want, there's a psychomagnetic vibrational kind of current that you're creating. And that's where the kind of individual practice, when we come together, as I told the women yesterday, I won't reiterate this point, but when we come together, there's practice that has to happen in order to kind of come together in a way that's interesting. And so it's not just like oh, you again. So that's kind of what we would like to, if we could give you anything in the yogic arts of it all, whether you're practicing for a tea date for someone you met, whether you're practicing for your partner of 20 years, or you've been in a relationship, or you have a new baby, or you're about to have a baby. We have a lot of that in the room as well, or teenagers. All the different phases. There's practice that has to happen in order to be able to see yourself and then see another person and receive from them, and also invoke from them, inspire from them something that would be interesting and nourishing for you.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I think the definition of embodiment is to invoke some concept that's not real through the body. Does everybody get that? So when we embody love, we're taking the concept of love and we're actually making it real through the body. I thought that was profound, right? So if we're asking to invoke a certain energy today, you're literally taking nothing from the ethers, from infinity, from the deities, wherever you want to pull it from, and you're making it real through your body. I love that idea, right? And that is how things can happen in really beautiful ways. So this idea of embodiment is something we're going to be working with a lot today. We're also going to be working with, the very charged topics of masculine and feminine polarity, which I'm just going to say. They're charged because they're the opposite poles. I mean, this is yin and yang, this is Shiva and Shakti, this is, alpha, omega, this is not, masculine and feminine has a very charged, but we've been talking about this for tens of thousands of years. There are energies in all life, including human beings, that when properly polarized create an energetic arc. We call that sexual energy in relationship, right? That's different from intimacy. Intimacy is, I see you, like you're the same as me. We're the same. Like, I'm afraid, you're afraid. I have love, you have love. I want this, you want this. So intimacy is this practice of seeing us as the same. Sexual polarity is this practice of like, all right, celebrating what's different. Like, women move differently than men. So we're going to be working with that. And when I say masculine and feminine, I'm just asking you, now most of the time it's kind of heteronormative, but not always, right? This works with gay couples or lesbian couples. This is if you want sexual energy, there's someone's surrendering and someone's penetrating. There's always this kind of play going on. It doesn't always have to be the man and the woman. It can switch. So let's try not to get caught up in that and just know that we're sort of starting with a framework that allows us at least to have the conversation, right? I'm not trying to lay any sort of gender stereotypes on anybody. We're just trying to create a framework where we can work with polarity. Yeah. Is that cool? Does everybody get where we're coming from with that? Yeah.
I'm feeling very gender neutral today, so.
Right. Yeah. I have a lot of men have a lot of feminine, a lot of women have a lot of masculine energy and a lot of masculine capacity. This is the modern world. This is how it's happening. So ultimately, really good relating is a fluid movement of I'm in my masculine, she's in her feminine, she's in her masculine, I'm kind of letting her lead. There's this kind of back and forth play that happens like really good tennis.
Yeah, that is very true, especially in modern relating. It has to be this way. I mean, things are changing so rapidly, and it has nothing to do with gender. So it really is it's a big kind of spectrum, and it's a fun spectrum if you can really kind of get in there and play with it. It's fun. So.
And there's one more point I'll make on this, which is that there's malnourishment when we ignore our essences, right? What we are naturally, like even though I have a lot of feminine capacity, my essence, my sexual essence, my essence as a human is masculine. Hers is feminine. If we sort of lose touch with those parts of ourselves, we start to feel starved. Or if we're in a relationship and we start to give the opposite that actually gives nutrition to our partner, right? You guys know what I'm talking about, like the energy that gives our partner nutrition, they start to feel starved. So this is where we have, the modern society has a lot of this going on, and so this is why we really push for these practices, so that we can nourish ourselves and nourish our partners.